Welcome to Talk Travel with Heather Tate, North Mississippi's podcast for savvy travelers. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is a weekly podcast that airs every Monday on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi, and is then released as a podcast. Travel advisor and travel enthusiast Heather Tate of Whimsical Destinations gives listeners expert travel tips curated through the years of personal and professional experience. By clicking subscribe, you'll have a new travel tip to add to your collection delivered to your podcast library every Monday. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is brought to you by Sun Bear Studio. Sun Bear Studio is a boutique recording studio in the heart of Ripley, Mississippi. When you record with us at Sun Bear Studio, we can mix, master, register, and publish your music, your podcast, or your family story. Email us when you're ready at sunbear@jc.media.
This program was recorded at Sun Bear Studio in Ripley, Mississippi.
Good morning, Northeast Mississippi travelers. This is Heather with Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and I'm so excited to share my adventures and tried and true tips with you, whether you are also a seasoned traveler, a hopeful traveler, or currently an armchair traveler, meaning you're going to follow along with us from home for now. This is our 169th episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and I'm so excited you decided to join us today because it is going to be all about our first Alma Waterways group river cruise. That's going to be next fall, November 7th through the 14th of 2026. We are going to be sailing down the beautiful Danube River. Now, we're going to begin in Vilshofen, Germany, and we're going to sail all the way to Budapest in Hungary. So we're going to be going down the romantic Danube. Now, I don't know about you, but ever since I started seeing about river cruises years ago, I think really when I got big into Downton Abbey and I would see the river cruise commercials after every episode, I would think, okay, this looks like my scene. I love Europe and I love ocean cruises. So what's not to love about a European river cruise? And I kept thinking, well, maybe that'll be something I do years down the road. I'm going to keep that in my mind, and years down the road, I'll return to it. Well, this past summer, my family went to Croatia, and we spent a week on a yacht. Now, it was much smaller than anything we have done before as far as being on the water, because it was not a cruise ship. It was more like a river cruise because it was small. There were only 20 cabins on our yacht. Now, our boys are ages 13 and 8. So almost 9. Christian's almost 9 now. And so in my mind, they're going to be too young right now for a river cruise. You know, that's what I thought years ago. I didn't want to go when they were really little. We had other ideas for adventures, for different types of cruises. And I thought, okay, not now. But the more I started looking into Alma Waterways, I realized it is one of the only river cruises that allows children. Now, for some, that may be a turnoff, but I'm going to explain to you why it's not for me as far as being a turnoff, even though it's not adults only. Viking river cruises, adults only. So if that's what you're looking for, then there's lots of great options for other river cruise lines. But our boys are not going to let us go to Europe, especially after we had such an amazing cruise on the Croatian yacht this summer. They're not going to let us go without them. And I don't want to go without them for this type of trip because I had so much fun going with them and island hopping. And it's not about the vessel. When you do a trip like this, it's about the destinations. So we're going on an ocean cruise in January. So we're still having those type of experiences. And they have a lot of options for kids. And you can all be in one cabin. It's very affordable. So there's some great things about doing an ocean cruise. But here's one of the big differences. And this is what has really sold me on the idea of a river cruise. Ocean cruises take you to countries. They take you to destinations. Whereas river cruises take you through the destinations. And one of my favorite things about our Croatian yacht trip this summer was just being on the top deck, going through where we're going from one place to the next because we would cruise during the day and seeing land on both sides, usually land on both sides, getting to see the little towns and the villages and the lighthouses. You're with water, you're with mountains, you're getting to see things. So think about it this way. If you're not an ocean cruiser or you think cruising's not for you, then river cruising still could be because they're much smaller. Only, I believe, 156 people total are passengers on this vessel. castle. So let me tell you a little bit more about it, what we're going to do. And if you're interested and would like to have more information and want to join us, we already have 5 cabins booked. So again, we're going next fall. I chose this time because I looked at a lot of pricing. And since we're going to have 2 cabins, because our boys are going with us, then I needed it to be as affordable as possible because, yes, on average, river cruising is going to be more expensive than ocean cruising. But it also includes things that ocean cruises do not, too. So, yes, it's more initially, but there's going to be a trade-off, I think. So I chose the romantic Danube itinerary because it's going to go through 5 countries. And these will be 5 countries that no one in my family has been to before. So 5 new countries. We're very excited about that. We're going to fly into Munich in Germany. So Logan has wanted to go to Germany for years. And the Bavarian part of Germany with the castles is the part that really interests me the most. And so we're flying into Munich. We're going to spend a couple of days there. I plan to go to the Neuschwanstein Castle, the one that Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella's castle, all that was modeled after. You see in all the pictures. London and I decided this the other day that that's what we're going to do for one of our excursion days leading up to the river cruise. Because again, as you know, my 13-year-old son London loves to help me plan. London helps me plan, and Logan and Christian will be along for the ride. So we're going to go a couple days early because you always go early if you're going on a cruise. And we've chose this itinerary because the Danube is the most popular and is usually the first destination for river cruisers. It has old world European charm with fortresses, castles, abbeys. Like, this is where kings, queens, and empires were formed. Lots of crown jewels to see. I'm going to enjoy that. The greatest music in the world, was started right here. We're going to learn, London and I are going to learn the Viennese waltz because Vienna is one of our locations in Austria that we're going to. So we're just really excited about it. I chose Alma again because, 1, children are allowed. Now, there will not be any child activities on the river cruise. So they allow for the European cruises ages 4 and up. But I would recommend you would want the children to be experienced travelers and to know that they're not catering to children. Most of the time when children do go, they're going to be your teens, your tweens, like my boys will be 9 and 14 when we go. And I already know that they're going to do well in this type of itinerary because they love the destinations. I also chose Alma because the due date for your final payment is not until 90 days before you go. Other cruise lines, river cruise lines, they can be due up until a year in advance. So we wanted some more time. It's a reasonable deposits, $400 per person for the deposits, and several amazing inclusions. So all your food, just like on an ocean cruise, your food is included. Here's where it's different. Your drinks are also included, not just water, tea, and coffee. For lunch and dinner, your alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages are included. There's also a 1-hour time before dinner, your cocktail hour, if you will, where your drinks are also included then. And that's when you get the heads up about what your itinerary is going to be, your activities, your excursion options for the next day, little talk about the culture, the history, the geography, the things that you need to know. You get a much more up close and personal atmosphere because it's a smaller boat. You're also cruising down rivers, not on oceans, so you're not going to feel the movement as much. You're going to get to experience traveling up and down locks, which my boys are going to love. So food's included, drinks are included, your excursions are included. Now, this is huge. Your excursions are not included on ocean cruises, and that can add a lot, especially an Alaskan cruise. But your excursions, often 2 a day, morning and afternoon, are included. There's a variety for moderate, all the way from mild, you've got moderate, and then you have, more advanced. Also, they include bikes. So you can do bike tours. You can also just check a bike out and go riding through the town. So you're docking in the downtown areas in most cases. Now, you have some options. Sometimes you'll board a bus and go a little bit further. But for the most part, you're going to be right there. Sometimes you'll take your bike and you'll meet your ship in another location after you bike there. So we're very excited about it. We chose this time for the pricing, which is incredible for a river cruise. We chose it for the fall weather. I've been looking at pictures right now because it's going to be about a year from now when we're going exactly to look at what people are wearing, what the trees look like. The trees are turning colors right now. Also, we're hitting the tail end of Oktoberfest, but where we're going in Vilshofen, they always have an exclusive Oktoberfest for Alma Waterways guest there. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So the itinerary itself, the countries that we're going to, we begin in Germany. We'll go to the Czech Republic. We'll go to Austria. I already mentioned Vienna. We go to Slovakia, and we'll end in Hungary in Budapest. So we'll have a whole day and evening there, and then we leave the next day and we'll fly back home from Budapest. So we fly into Munich. We'll take the train to Vilshofen. We'll have a day there. We're boarding the ship, and then you unpack one time. Just like on an ocean cruise, one of the advantages is getting to go to multiple destinations, and you're unpacking once. So there's different types of cabins, just like on an ocean cruise, where you have a fixed window. There's no interior cabins. So your lowest room category will still have windows to the outside. And then there's the French balcony where you're going to have the sliding glass doors that open. You don't step out on the balcony, but you still can have the fresh air. You have a seating area there. That is what I chose for my family. And then you have the walkout balconies, which is actually a double balcony. The French windows and a walkout balcony. The food looks incredible. I've read a lot of reviews, so I'm very excited about it. And it's very accommodating for dietary restrictions or like, for example, I'm a vegetarian. My 8-year-old son, Christian, is a vegetarian. If you have an allergy or celiac or gluten, they're very accommodating to allergies. That's something I had to specify on the front end. There's also a chef's table and a captain's dinner that are all included on an ocean cruise. It would be additional if you wanted to experience a chef's table where you're looking at a 7 or 8 course meal on a night for dinner, but not with Alma Waterways. It's included. So like I said, there's so much included within that price. Our flights are separate. It's a little too early to even price flights for next year because those will come out 11 months ahead of time, but we're already pricing based on this year. And they looked around, if we were to do a nonstop to Munich from Atlanta, because you know I like to drive to Atlanta for nonstop, then it was looking around $1,200 per person with Delta Comfort. And it was even less doing Delta Main Cabin. So it really seemed like the flights were going to be reasonable. That's another reason I chose that time of year. It is going to be shoulder season. So yes, we may get to experience a little bit of the Christmas markets early because it's going to be, early to mid-November, but most of those will not have started up yet. And it's after Oktoberfest. So I feel like the timing is going to be great. Is it going to be cool? Yes, we're going to bring some coats. We're going to have jackets. We're going to always bring waterproof jackets because that's something I'm seeing that you need to be prepared for. The weather can change from day to day. But I think it's going to be amazing to get out and explore. And we'll have walking tours that are included, biking tours that are included, castle hikes, so much wonderful food and wine to experience that I cannot wait to have this part of the world that I have never experienced before, right outside my window and then be able to be right in the midst of it. If you're interested, would like some more information, contact me. Join our Facebook group. I've got a lot more information there, including an exact itinerary. So Heather and Logan Tate, Whimsical Destinations, would love for you to join us next year on our first ever Alma Waterways group cruise. Wherever you're going or whatever you're doing this week, make it an adventure. Life is short. Spend time with those you love. Take the trip. You won't regret it.
This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted, and Sun Bear Recording Studio where the interviews are recorded. We need your feedback and support. If you listen to the podcast on a player like iTunes, Google Podcast, or Amazon Music, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark1023.com/podcasts. Today's episode was produced by Melinda Marsalis. It was edited by Rick Williams and engineered by Chris Marsalis. The podcast technician is Joyce Grady.